Hi and welcome back to Ashley Curtis Alexander Body and Mind Training. The subject I'm going to discuss today are SMART goals. You might be familiar with these or heard of this acronym because they are used a lot in workplace training exercises and are based around, normally it's based around sales goals and things like that. But they can really be applied to anything. So I'm just going to take you through what the acronyms stand for and then just explain how it works a bit. And I really recommend that you use it because it is so good for focusing and driving towards your goals. So the first one is specific. So S stands for specific. So that might sound straightforward, and it is. You just want to make sure that you have a specific goal. So for example, you don't want to say something like, I want to achieve more sales this year. Whilst that's great, you might well achieve more sales, it doesn't actually give you anything specific to work towards. So you would want to say something like, an example would be, I want to achieve 100 sales this year, for argument's sake. Okay, so make sure that that's specific. The M stands for measurable. So you want to have a mechanism in place to measure how you're tracking towards that goal. So that might be something like a sales tracker. So if you're saying that you want to achieve 100 sales, how are you going to measure that you're on track to do so? So make sure you've got a mechanism in place to actually measure what you're driving towards. Then the A stands for achievable. So based on the resources you have, is it achievable? So for example, when I say resources, it doesn't necessarily mean things like money. It could be intellectual resources, qualifications, things like that. Do you have the actual resources in place to actually go out and achieve this goal? So for example, you might want to be a doctor, but the resource you need is a medical degree, for example. So that is an example of a resource. The R stands for realistic. So based on the resources that you have, and also performance, if we're talking in a sales perspective, is it realistic for you to, is your goal realistic essentially? So an example would be, okay, I've set my goal at 100 sales a year, but my previous performance was 10 sales a year. So is that jump realistic from 10 to 100 in a short space of time, for example? So this is a very important component of it because you need to make sure that your goals are realistic, because you don't want to set unrealistic goals because they can be demoralizing. Actually, you can end up performing worse than you were before because you need belief and realism to be able to drive forward to that next stage and increase your performance and go towards that goal. So make sure that it is realistic. And the last one is time-based. So set a deadline for your goal. So the example would be 100 sales for the year. So you've got a deadline that you're working towards, so you can measure that, and you know that you would need to do 9 sales, for example, per month to reach or slightly exceed that goal of 100 in a year. And also it gets your subconscious mind really working at it. So once you get this right, what happens is you just end up just getting to work. You don't even think about it. So it becomes very much an automated subconscious thing rather than thinking consciously, oh my God, I've got to do all these sales, or I've got to do X, Y, and Z. You literally just know what you've got to do every day, and it just becomes habit. And then before you know it, you've achieved the goal, or you've achieved it ahead of time. So I really love this concept. I use it myself for everything I do in terms of goal setting, and I'll suggest you give it a try and do the same. So that's my video on SMART goals. I hope you took something from that. Give it a try and see the difference that it makes. It really will make a positive difference, and you'll feel very empowered and have purpose towards your goals that you're aiming for. So have a good day, and I'll see you in another video. Thank you.